Hi, my name is Justin. This is Nooks Cooks. Today I'm going to be cooking Biko, a Filipino sweet rice cake. So let's start. Biko is a Filipino sweet rice cake and definitely one of my favorites. It's a glutinous rice that's cooked with and flavored with coconut and brown sugar and topped with coconut curds. So Biko falls under this large umbrella or category of sweet rice cakes that are referred to as kakanin, which in Tagalog means prepared rice, and it comes from the Tagalog word kanin, which means rice. There are so many different types of kakanin across the Philippines, way too many to name, but here are a few of my favorites, including Biko, bebingka, kuchinta, moche, palitaw, sapin-sapin, putong maputi, puto bongbong, suman, tupig. So there are way too many, so leave a comment down below what some of your favorite kakanin are. And there are also a bunch of different rice cakes or sweet rice cakes that are found all across Asia. East Asia, Southeast Asia, and even South Asia. So leave another comment down below what your favorite rice cake is from the broader Asia. Biko is one of my favorites, and this one is special because a few weeks ago, my wife's grandma came to visit, and it was really important to me that she taught me how to cook her version of Biko because one of the first times I ever met her, she made Biko, and I thought it was the best Biko I ever had. So it was really, really important that I learned how to make this and keep this tradition going on. So let's move on to the ingredients. Here are all the ingredients for Biko, starting with the short grain sweet rice. This is a kakanin, of course, we gotta start with rice. And then the water that we're going to cook the rice in. And then the next thing is optional. So I'm already deviating from what my wife's grandma had taught me, and I'm gonna be adding one pandan leaf. These are frozen pandan leaves from my local Filipino grocery store, and this is to add some extra aroma and flavor. My mom told me when she was growing up, every time they made a pot of rice, they would add a pandan leaf for that extra aroma. And pandan is known for having some vanilla flavors in it, and we are going to be having some vanilla extract. So I'm adding the pandan leaf for that extra vanilla flavor. So like I said, vanilla extract, and then we have coconut milk, dark brown sugar. You can use dark brown sugar or light brown sugar. And then finally on the top, the coconut curds or latik. This is coconut cream. My wife's grandma told me that I had to use the frozen type. She said if you try to use the coconut cream that you find on the shelf that's found at room temperature, it does not cook correctly. So we have to use the frozen coconut cream. In the Philippines, traditionally, you would use coconut milk and you cook it down to get the coconut curds or latik, but I don't have a fresh coconut and coconut milk to make the latik, so this is the next best thing. And then finally, this is also optional, the Biko is gonna be put in a pan, and I'm gonna line that pan with banana leaves. I wish I had some fresh banana leaves, but here are some frozen banana leaves that I bought at the Filipino grocery store. Maybe I should grow a banana tree in my garden so I can harvest banana leaves. But this adds even more aroma and flavor to the Biko, and it's just that nice extra flavor that really puts it over the top. But again, completely optional. I start by cooking the short grain sweet rice. I'm using a rice cooker here for consistency in cooking the rice. If you cook it on a pot, you might have some parts that are more cooked than others, or you might even have some burned parts, and this allows me to have some consistency. Here I'm rinsing off the rice 3 times to rinse off the extra starch. I don't need it to be completely clear, I just want it to be mostly clear when I'm done rinsing it. After the 3 rinses are complete, I add in the water. In this case, I'm adding a little bit less water than there is rice. That way you get a drier rice, which is good for the consistency of this type of rice cake. Again, this is optional. I'm adding the pandan leaves. Every time I see somebody do this, they like to tie it in a knot, and I thought it looked cool, so I thought I'd try it. My rice cooker conveniently has a sweet rice setting, so I'm gonna use that here. You gotta use your best judgment when it comes to your rice cooker, or you can cook this on a pot over the stove. Now it's time to cook the latik, or the coconut curds. This coconut cream can was frozen and I thawed it out in the fridge the night before. I added the coconut cream to a pan with the heat off, and then I turned up the heat, and then using a spatula, I break it all up to get a smooth consistency. Bring the coconut cream up to a boil, and once it starts boiling, turn down the heat to medium-high heat. At this point, you just constantly stir the coconut cream with the spatula, making sure that none of it gets burned. And over time, you can see that the coconut curds start to separate away from the oil. I like to take the spatula to break up the latik into smaller pieces. If you want it bigger, you can keep them bigger. It's all personal preference. Here you can see the latik starts to put on some color. You want it to be consistently golden brown all the way around without it being burned. This took about 10 to 20 minutes from beginning to end. Now using a strainer, strain out the coconut curds to separate them out from the coconut oil. Here's what the latik looks like when it's done. Some of the pieces got a little bit overcooked, but overall it was great. Now I pour off the coconut oil into another bowl, leaving about 1 tablespoon behind. There are a little bit of solids in the bottom, and my wife's grandma said this is important to keep there, so I kept it. Now it's time to start making the coconut milk and brown sugar syrup for the rice. Remember to give your coconut milk a good shake, otherwise it's not going to come out right. If you look closely, you might notice I'm using the same exact pan I did for the latik, and I didn't clean it out, and that's not because I'm lazy. I want the residual coconut oil from the latik to cook into the rice. Now add in the brown sugar. I said you can put dark brown sugar or light brown sugar. I'm using dark brown sugar because it has more molasses in it, and that makes for a darker and richer flavor in the Biko. Now mix these together and cook at medium to medium-high heat until it forms a thick syrup. This takes about 10 to 15 minutes, and you want to constantly stir it so you don't burn the syrup. I almost forgot the vanilla extract, so let's add that in and mix it up. And as the syrup cooks down, I constantly check the consistency. We're not quite there yet. After about 15 minutes, you can see the syrup is really thickened up, and when I run the spatula across the bottom of the pan, you can see the bottom of the pan for a split second. The rice cooker is done, so I remove the pandan leaves, and then I take a rice paddle and mix it all up to break it up and also to release any excess moisture. Now add the cooked sweet rice to the syrup. You want to mix this in so all the syrup mixes evenly into the rice. At medium heat, I constantly mix this mixture. That way nothing gets burned with the spatula, and you want to keep on cooking it, and it's going to thicken up over time. I totally forgot to add a really important part. During the mixing process, I added that 1 tablespoon of coconut oil that I reserved earlier, and that's really important to adding moisture or maintaining moisture in the rice. Another point is when I'm mixing the rice, I'm mostly just pushing it around and not smashing it. I want to make sure that all the individual grains of rice stay intact. We don't want this to be mush, we want individual grains of rice. You'll know you're done when you're moving and mixing the rice, that it all moves in one unit without any parts of it breaking up. At that point, the rice is ready and you can remove it off the stove. In a foil tray, line it with banana leaves. You want to make sure that all the bottom surfaces are covered so the rice doesn't leak through the bottom. I mentioned the banana leaves are optional, but I think they're really important when it has that extra aroma in the Biko, but if you can't find it, I understand. Now take the cooked rice and place it into the banana leaf lined pan and spread it evenly. Once everything is evenly spread out, take your spatula and draw out a grid to portion out the biko. I know I could have done a better job evenly portioning these out. I did my best. Lastly, place the latik on each portion of biko. And you're done. Okay, the biko's done and it's time to give it a taste. Let's see if it lives up to the best Asian compliment for desserts. Not too sweet. Magandang, let's eat. Let's try just the rice by itself, just to see what it's like. Definitely not too sweet. Just the right amount of sweetness. You can taste the coconut. You can taste the brown sugar. You can taste that it's sweet enough and knowing that it's a dessert, but not so much that it'll give you like a sugar high or a tummy ache from it being too sweet. And let's have some of the latik to eat with it at the same time. Very coconutty with those coconut curds or the latik. And it's nice to have that contrast in texture because the rice is so smooth and gooey, but in a good way, and sticky for a sticky rice dessert. And you have the crunchiness of the latik on top. This latik is probably a little crunchier than I am used to. Usually when I've had latik from the Philippines, they make it with fresh coconut milk and it's a little bit softer, but I think this might be a limitation of either the coconut cream or I'm not very good at cooking these. Maybe I need to cook them slower. But either way, it tastes really good. Manyaman. Okay, one more bite. Magandang. Let's see, a better bite with everything on there. Magandang. What a nice dessert. Not too sweet. You could eat this all day. Hi everyone, thanks again for watching. I really appreciate each and every one of you, and leave a comment down below with one family recipe that you want to pass on for future generations, and remember to like and subscribe. Peace!